We sincerely hope this interview will be done well. Anyways, how was your day, Mr. Jones?
Doing well. How about you?
We too. Before we start, maybe you could introduce yourself first, Mr. Jones.
Okay, so my name is Adam Jans. I am the English elementary librarian here at Gyeonggi Suwon International School. I have been the librarian here. This is my first year at this school, but I've been a librarian for 5 years in Korea in another city called Cheonan. I was ahead of the English program there. The entire second floor was the English program, so we had stuff like English movies. We had a room that we did just EAL classrooms, kids reading book area. We did classes online, and of course checkout as well. So I did that with my university I used to work at. I was a university professor for 15 years before this job. Yep.
All right, sir, it's really nice to know you. Now let me introduce our team. First is me. I'm the leader of the team. Actually, my name is Wilda Syafitri, and then there is Viga. Say hi, Viga.
Hello, sir. I'm the one who always send you the email. Nice to meet you,
Okay.
sir.
Nice to meet you. Yep.
And then there is Anita Dilosa. Say hi, Anita.
Hi, sir. Nice to meet you. I'm Anita.
Hello.
And then there is Aline. Say hi, Aline.
Hello, sir. I'm Aline.
Hello.
All right, so we are students of Library and Information Science Department from Universitas Sumatera Utara, Indonesia. Because we don't have much time, I think we decided to ask some questions that we sent to you back then. It's just maybe 12 questions. Is it okay?
Yep. Go ahead.
All right, so our event is interview. The topic is preservation and conservation of library collection. First, I will read the definition. According to the American Institute for Conservation of Historic and Artistic Works, preservation is the protection of cultural property through activities that minimize chemical and physical deterioration and damage, and that prevent loss of informational content. Retrieved from M.I.Kom 1998, conservation is the specific practices use the slow deterioration and prolong the life of an object by directly intervening in its cycle or chemical restoration is a treatment procedure intended to the return cultural property to a known or assumed state, often through the addition of non-original material. These three practices work together to safeguard the longevity and integrity of library resources. Based on that theory, we're going to ask you some questions about that topic. The first is from me. The first question is, what are some common traits to library material in school libraries?
One more time. I missed the third word there.
I'm sorry, sir, but sorry for interrupt this interview. I want to introduce you. There is Mr. Rasyid Ridlo. He is our lecturer.
Okay.
Okay, I will repeat my question. The first question is, what are some common traits to library materials in school libraries?
Common traits? Common traits, well, of course, most library books are made of paper. And so we have hardbound and softbound books mostly. Most of the books we have here, I would say we do what they call a library-bound book, or they also call them a M.I.Kom-bound book. So they're stronger bindings. So for example, like normal books like this, let me see my own screen here. Hold on, let me this up here. There you go. So like normal books, it's just glued with a little bit of glue that holds it together. The problem with that is these are normal books and they work well for household use, but not for library use when it's used 20, 30, 50 times. So what happens is the book binding will separate, and then you either have to reglue it or get a new copy because it'll destroy the pages. So we get called a M.I.Kom-bound book, where they actually will take and they will sew it into the lining. So it's much stronger and thicker. So even if you drop the book, or if you have a heavy book, like for example, this one, then when you open it up, you see there's a gap here. What happens is this will break. So the common part about most books is they're not made to be used heavily by libraries or by schools, and so these will actually break very easily. And so most of the books that I buy will be either Mackin bound or library bound book, which were more expensive, but they last much longer. So to help with deterioration and to help longevity of the book is I will bind, let me find a book that's not bound. This one here is the inside pages. Usually they'll be bound where they mostly will be broken. So what I do is I actually put lining here on both sides, so it will last longer than normal books because of the heavy usage of the students, especially using the middle of the book too. So these books have the plastic sleeve over them. We put a plastic tape over them, as you can tell, to help them because they're soft back. But even then, a lot of times these won't last that long. So this book, we've had this book, I think, for a couple years. But yeah, so those are most of the ones in common for the books that we have.
All right, sir. Thank you for the first answer. And now I'll move to the next question.
Mhm.
The second question is, what are the usual factors for the damages collection?
Well, for elementary school, I'd say even for middle school and high school, the biggest factors are students' usage of the books improperly or storage improperly. A lot of times you put them in book bags and you drop the book bag or throw the book bag, and so that damages the book, especially heavier books, or lighter books and heavy books are on top. It will crush the books. So those are the most common factors that I see when books are damaged is improper care by the user or basically the students mostly. Or the worst is when they leave them in their cars because it gets hot and cold, and so humidity really ruins the glue and can really make the books warp, or they're constantly just bent.
Okay, sir. For the third question, there are 4 seasons in Korea. And then based on your experience or in your opinion, what kind of measures can school take to create an optimal environment for preserving the collection?
Low humidity is the best one. You don't want humidity because books are made of wood, and so you get termites. And I have seen several books that have termites in them because it's high humidity and it's moist and it's dark. So lots of lighting and low humidity to keep the books dry because you don't want moist, dark places. That's where bugs get in, whether they're spiders or termites, and they bring in bigger bugs. Small bugs, you bring in bigger bugs will bring in rats or either other animals into the library as well. So keeping it clean, low humidity, and lots of light helps a lot with that factor.
Okay, sir, next question. Does your school prepare for emergencies? Example, floods, fires that could threaten their collection.
Yeah, so we have emergency drills that we practice twice a year for fires. So we actually have, hold on, I'll grab it for you. I'll show you. We actually have an emergency kit. So in this emergency kit, we have a card that's green card or red card. Green card means I have all the students, their list and name of students, all the students are with me. Red card means I'm missing a student. If I'm missing a student, I put their name on the card that has like missing, let's say Bob Smith. So then I hand this to my supervisor and saying, we can't find this child. We need to find that child. We also have an evacuation program, lots of papers actually in here, for flood, fire, whatever, or anything going on. So we actually have a list of where do people go, which areas for each school, each a part of it. So we have evacuation to the parking lots, to the soccer field, where you go and which areas. So for my area, it tells me who my supervisors are and who I need to contact. So we have an entire list of protocols we file and use. Earthquake, there's earthquake checklist, evacuation checklist, allergy information, kids that have allergies also. For example, we have several kids who have peanut allergies. So we have to make sure that there's no peanuts in the school. One student is so allergic to peanuts that if even they smell peanuts, they can have a bad reaction and could cause death. So we have all those in this little pamphlet together. And And so whenever we hear the alarm go off, then I just grab this entire thing and I find the correct one for the certain or the particular emergency that's going on today.
All right, sir. So I will ask the next question. So we know that technology is evolving these days. So how can new technologies be used to improve preservation efforts, such as digitalization, image analysis, and material treatment?
Well, so as you already know, nobody uses a card catalog anymore. We do the OCLC, the online catalog system, right? A lot of libraries, especially universities and academic ones, use the Library of Congress cataloging. So we moved away from the physical card catalogs because it's just slower and is less reliable because it's human error compared to on the computer where you can just find it real quickly and update it. Today with AI and other things, you have to decide if it's beneficial to your students or not. We use iPads. We have a lot of online databases that we do use, which is actually much faster and quicker than using the old, I can show you, the old databases, which are just books, right? Harder for students to use. So they can get online, go through our databases. We have like EBSCOhost, JSTOR. We use BrainPop for kids. There's a bunch of other ones we use that actually are more beneficial. Now, the downside is they're on their phones or they're on the pads. In our school, each child gets an iPad. They use for classroom, for research. Now, it is locked, so certain programs they can use. There is no free searching the internet. So it's locked to certain apps or programs they can use so they can focus on the research that they're doing. When you're in junior high and high school, then they don't have it locked because you're old enough to make that choice yourself and you know how to use and study yourself and you study and use your free time correctly. But there is some parents who love it, and there are some parents who think it's really bad and they should go back to using dictionaries and encyclopedias. We actually don't have any encyclopedias at all in the school. They're all gone because nobody ever uses them. So everything's online. So we have online databases. We spend about $35,000 a year on online databases between elementary, junior high, and high school, just to have that. And also we do AI detection and cheat detection, plagiarism detection as well. We pay for those when they submit their essays and stuff. So it's really important and really good, but also the negative is students can use that to cheat. So we have to find creative ways to make sure they're using it correctly.
All right, sir. And for the next question, what strategies are effective in preserving the library collection in the school library?
I think the biggest one is making sure your books are known. A lot of times we'll get new books or new series, which everybody loves the new stuff, right? It's shiny, it's new, it's clean. And they don't forget about the classics or the older ones that are just as valuable or can be more entertaining. So having a rotation, having your books faced outwards in a display is really important to let the students know that they exist. I've had several students go, "Oh, I didn't know we had these books." And I said, "The books are older than you are," because they don't look for the older books. So book rotation, book displays, having going classes and talking about the books you have. I have a section called Read It or Weed It. Weeding means to weed it out of the system. So I'll display the books that have never been checked out in 5, 6, 7 years and display them, a whole section of that, so the students can see them and go, "Oh, wow, I've never seen this book before," because they've never looked for it. Especially when you get over 10, 15, 20,000 books, 20 minutes, 30 minutes is enough time to find books that you may not be looking for. So it's really important that as a librarian, we rotate it. So I have a display in the main hallway. I have a display when you walk into the library, and I have books on top of each shelf. And I rotate those once a month. I also will do a theme. So for children's books, last month was Berenstain Bear books. This month we're doing, I think it's, what are we doing this month? Actually, I can't remember, but it's another series we're doing of books that are not commonly checked out. So I'll go into the program we use and find the books that are not commonly checked out. Those books are the ones I'll rotate in the front and display first. So that helps with kids' awareness and keeping books fresh and up to date.
Yes, sir. For the next question, how do we balance the need for access with the need to protect fragile material?
For a long time, we used to use scans, a Scantron, and then we actually have it like on film when you could go in and just look at old newspapers and stuff, because the actual ones would be down in the vault under the basement of the library usually. That used to work really well. Now everything's electronic. So what they do now is they'll actually have a camera and a system. We don't have one here, where they'll take pictures of, well, even newspapers now are all electronic, and they put a copy on the database so you can just see it. So actual physical copies, usually you have a vault downstairs or a room that has huge dehumidifiers in it to keep the books dry. And that's where you keep them, anything you want to preserve, older books, classic books, historical books. The problem is today is a lot of libraries like this one, we've been around for almost 20 years, but we don't have any of those books because we have no reason to have them. Everything can be found online. Copies, photocopies, scans, electronic versions of it. So I think the oldest book we have is maybe 35 years old, if that, to be honest, because we don't have a reason to have older books at this school. Now, when I grew up, there was tons of those books in our schools, but today, modern books and online stuff, it's nothing that is important to the kids to see. Even having old cards, I don't think we have anything here that has them. I don't have anything stamped on the books common today. So even my library at the university I worked at had a small section of historical books, but no one ever went into it because it's unimportant to them. So it's about advertising those and explaining how those are important to your patrons.
Okay, next question is, what ethical consideration come into play when deciding which items to conserve?
Oh, ethical. Well, part of the American Library Association, we don't take any biases towards any books as a librarian because the idea is to give information to anyone for any reason. So whether you're, example, Muslim or Christian or Jewish or non-religious at all, we don't say, oh, that book's good, that book's bad. We believe that any book, any information, whether you believe it or don't believe it, is information. Our job as librarians is to give information. So it doesn't matter if I'm for or against, let's say, gay rights, or for or against polygamy, or for or against whatever the thing is. I don't go, oh, sorry, I can't keep that book. As part of the American Library Association is we keep all books for information, because even if you don't believe it, understanding what it means and how it relates to saying, oh, I understand that now, that's why I don't believe that, or I don't like that. That's better than being like, well, I know it's bad, but I don't know why it's bad. That's not good. So we have books here. This is actually a Christian school, but I've got tons of books on right now. The big thing is in America, especially, is homosexual rights, gay marriage and stuff. We have books on that stuff. A lot of people don't like it, but we have them as information, not indoctrination, right? So the important part is to see that even though you may be X, doesn't mean the book is bad. So that's the first thing you have to do as a librarian, is separate your personal beliefs from your job, and then look at books. Because I mean, The Girl Who Stole an Elephant. Okay, so that's a really good book, but some people may not like this book, right? Or Ever Falling Star would be another one that could be The Escaper from North Korea. Now, obviously, a lot of people say, well, I like or dislike North Korea. Well, some people may not like this book, but I'm a librarian. My personal beliefs are not important when it comes to preserving books. My job is to preserve all information, and that's how you have to look at it. So that's probably the most difficult part, especially if someone who's very convicted in their beliefs, to separate themselves from that when they're a librarian. So that's something that also I struggle with as well, because there's certain books that I prefer not to have, but they are important information databases for that certain topic or religion. And so that's important for somebody else, because 70% of the students at the school are not Christian, actually. Only 30% are Christian. So a big base of them are, a lot of them are Hindu or Muslim, or just non-religious at all, just nothing. And that's okay. And we have books for them. I have Hindi books. I've got books in Chinese and Japanese and Spanish and Greek and Hebrew. I have a bunch of different ones, because libraries for everyone, not just for this certain part or particular people.
Okay, so we move to the next question. So the question is, what motivates schools to invest in restoring library materials?
What motivates to, I think just the idea of preserving knowledge. As you may know, there's so much knowledge that we don't know because in the medieval times they burned books. Roman times they burned all kinds of libraries. The Library of Alexandria is just, we have no clue what we missed. So there's information, there's whole cultures we know nothing about because they were wiped out and all the history was gone. So we know that we can just guess. And so I think the motivation comes to preserving knowledge. And that's actually one of the big hard things now is there's so much information every day on TV, news, media, and different formats. From the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the formats we don't use anymore. So we all knew the new Windows, 11 and Windows 10, Mac and stuff. But if you try to access stuff that's a cassette or VCR, it's almost impossible for us unless the librarians preserve that information. So we actually have VCR tapes, we have DVDs that nobody watches, but we preserve them because we know in 10, 20, 30, 100 years from now, people are like, what is this thing? And don't even know how to use them. But we say, oh, we actually have that stuff. We can show them. So I actually have a copy, not that many, of some old VCR tapes and cassette tapes, the old real cassette tapes when I was young used, but nobody can use them. We have them in the back in a level library where they're just there for historical reasons only. And that's important just so you can teach the next generation, the next generation. As the famous saying goes, those who do not know history will be doomed to repeat it. That's a warning for, of course, war, but that's true about everything. So we need to know information and be able to retain it and keep record of it. I'm finished.
Okay, next question. What are some simple restoration techniques and what research are commonly used to train the school librarians?
So restoration will work, but I think the better word would be book repair. Most librarians, if not all librarians, take a class or a course on book repair and restoration when books are used, especially when books that are torn apart or broken. That is, well, I probably spend an hour a week repairing and fixing books. Full restorations I don't do, just because we just don't have the time or the equipment to do a full book restoration if it's falling apart. We'll just actually replace the copy, and that patron have to pay for the new copy because we don't have it. But when I worked at the other library, we did have that, and so you had somebody who would pull the book apart, unglue it with a solvent. You actually put the pages into a water which would clean it. You'd have to hang up to dry. Then you put them back in there slowly and then re-glue it with a machine. That is the main way. Newer books is a lot easier to do than compared to older books that are falling apart. Those you have to have a certified librarian who's trained in book restoration, and that takes years to do well. And usually those have apprenticeships. Mentioned maybe in Manchester or Oxford because that stuff they've done for hundreds of years. They have it that technique down very, very well. But here, mostly it's going to be either basic book repair or replace the book.
Okay, sir, for the next question, how to overcome the potentially varying perspective and interests regarding a restoration project?
That's a hard one. So basically you have to rely upon your rules and policies of your library in the school to see if it's worth the time or effort to restore. Some books are, or some databases are, but some are not. And so that's the first one, is to look through what you are allowed to and not allowed to. Also budget as well. Do you have the budget to do that? Sometimes it's just easier to discard than try to repair or restore it because it's just not worth the time or the money to do that. Other times it is worth it, depending upon it, what the book is. For example, we do yearbooks every year, and I get the library, all two libraries, we get 3 total copies, and that's it. And so there is no extra copies. So if they're gone, they're gone. So those books were definitely more careful to keep them safe. They're not allowed to be checked out outside the library at all. You can look them in the library, but you have to put them back. And it's actually right next to my desk because we don't want people ripping through them and tearing them up and handling them. in an improper way. And we let them know that there's only one copy, and if you ruin it, it's irreplaceable. And so the fine is really big because we want to make sure they take care of it, because once it's gone, there's no replacing it. It's only been made 1 year for that graduating year, and that's it. So I think just letting people know proper book usage, proper book handling. For example, one of the big ones most people don't think about it is when they open up books, they'll turn the page from here. And so most books, the repair is always here, especially little kids' books. They grab here and they grab the page and they turn it. Well, eventually it weakens here. So I always tell my students, when you grab a book, you grab from the top and you turn the page, because most of the books, it's always right here in the middle is where the rips are at. Constant, just turning the page, turn the page, turn the page. So how to properly handle books, how to hold books, or they'll walk around like this all the time with a book, and a heavier book especially, you do that and you're going to break the book, right? So how to hold a book, how to handle a book is super important. Or what's worse, and I see especially the younger children, they'll grab a book and they want to hold a page and they'll do this. And if it's your own book, that's fine. Library book, you cannot do that. Well, why not? Because it's already slightly bent, right? And that's just one use. So they don't understand that this is going to be used every year for at least 5 years. This is a book for secondary, and so you have to handle it nicely. So, and I do that every year. I take the first week and go to every class, explain them how to use books, how to check out books, how to handle books properly. What happens if you don't handle them properly? There's a damage or replaceable, and that your parents will pay for that, and they'll be very unhappy. But it's your responsibility. And if they don't pay the fine, then it's on their bill when they leave the school. So it is paid eventually on that as well. So keeping those, what's what I use? Encouragements to have them keeping books nice is really important.
All right, so now we're on our final question. So the last question is, in your opinion, what kind of challenges do school librarians face when restoring the library collection?
Oh man, I should bring the whole collection. I will show you. Hold on, I got a whole collection. Give me 1 second. I'll show you these. All right, these are the books I use at the beginning of the year when I go through every class. I show them how not to handle books. So I pick up a book like this and I ask them, what happened to this book? What's wrong with this book? And they'll guess, oh, they bent it, they full. Like, no, this is water damage. This is just from water. Someone spilt water on it and it's ruined. It's all crispy, it's crinkly now, and it's falling apart. And so I said, this book is ruined. Yes, you can read it, but who wants to read this book? It's all crinkly. So water damage book. So I X'd it out. It's now garbage. This book looks okay. It looks okay. It's not bad, but it's been used a lot, so it doesn't look nice. It's starting to bend, starting to fold. So, and there's no plastic covering on it, no jacket. So this book is okay, but then you have kids marking on the books, stamping on the books, writing on the books. So we talk about why we don't mark on books. And this one doesn't have it, but these have questions. Some of them have circled pencils and markers. So we talk about not writing in books that aren't yours. They spilt some kind of jelly or something on it. I couldn't clean it. It was complete. It's just stuck. So these pages are stuck together. I can't get them unstuck. So the entire book is ruined because I tried to do it. As you can see, I tried, but it just ruins the book more. So they had to buy a new book because it's completely ruined. So don't eat things when you're reading a book. This is what happened. Completely ruined. Basically, I'm not sure what happened to the book. All I know is it came back and it was completely destroyed. Very famous Lego book. So taking care of books. This one too, just completely ripped the whole binding apart. It's a pop-up book. And some of the pop-ups don't work. They're completely broken pop-ups. So they don't all work correctly. So this is a baby book. So now here's the thing with baby books. When you buy these, you have to know that children, especially babies, won't even close right now. It's kind of just stuck. Children will break them. So pop-up books, I don't allow them to be checked out of the library because this is what happens when you let kids take pop-up books home. Another one here. Oh, another pop-up book. Yeah, oh, here's part of the pop-up book. Here you go. Just falling apart. Pop-up book. So it's just completely torn apart because kids, especially younger kids, will pull books apart. So I no longer allow kids to bring pop-up books home. And this one, they bent the entire book. So golem in Korean is bear, but they brought it back and the answer was, I don't know what happened to the book. Well, this is a hard book. So they did something to the book and they broke it. Now, inside the pages are fine, but the outside is completely ruined. So every semester I go, or every new year I go to each classroom, I show them how not to handle the books because we don't want to break the books. Yeah, this one won't even close anymore. It's completely broken. So that's one of the big deterrents is showing them and letting them know how much it costs. So some of these books, pop-up books, are more expensive because they're limited edition or they're just more difficult to make. So it costs more money to fix or to get new ones. So I let them know. And then they're shocked. So that's what I do to help the students recognize that books that are not yours are not toys. They're tools to learn how to read, do imagination, tell stories, but we don't play with them like they're toys. Yeah. Oh, it's all broken now. Yep.
Sir, I have a follow-up question about the question before. Is there any penalty to the kids, to the children who read the books?
So it depends. If it's an older book, like this one, it's just been worn, just used lots of times. So there's really no penalty for this because it's just worn out. There's nothing wrong with the book. It's just I wouldn't want to pick it off the shelf. So I look at the book, go, nah, it's time to replace the book because it's old. Then it's no problem. But when they do actual stuff on the book, yes, this would be a damaged book. So there'll be a penalty. For damaged books, depending upon the penalty or the damage, like this, I think the fine is, I think, about $3 or $4 US because I do Korean won for that. But if it's more than just damaged and I can't fix it, then they have to replace the book. So it's a cost of the price of the book currently, not when I bought it, currently, because I have some books that are more expensive now, and I have some books that are less expensive now, depending upon what it is. And so it's the current price of the book. Now, the library I used to work at, they had to buy a brand new copy and give it to the library. They didn't care how much it costs. For us, they had to pay the fine for it. So we'll buy the copy, we'll pay the shipping, but they pay for the entire thing. So it's just a different way of doing it. I personally like my other library better, where they said, you have to buy me a new copy and you give it to us. Because then I don't have to worry about it. It's not my job to find the book, to buy the book. It's your job. So for example, we have 4 Dr. Seuss books that are no longer printed anymore. They're invaluable because they're out of print. And so I have the price about $500 because I don't want them to ever leave the library. So it's a discouragement because you can read them, but they're not allowed to leave the library. And I've actually had people offer to buy them because they're so rare now. And so I'm like, no, they're replaceable. So that's just an encouragement not to take the books because it's so expensive to replace if you try to take the books. Yeah.
Sir, is it okay if I have one more question?
Yeah, go for it.
Since the Gyeonggi Suwon is the international school, is there any Korean, like pure Korean student there? And for the library collection, is there any Korean book like that?
Yeah, okay. So first, there's 2 types of international schools. There's a foreign school and there's an international school. Foreign schools in Korea, that means anybody can go there. There's no limitation. International schools, you actually have to have lived internationally for a Korean citizen at least 3 years internationally to come here. So yes, we have many Koreans that go to the school, but they have lived internationally in another country for at least 3 years. That's required by law. If it's a foreign school, they don't have that. It's different. So we are an international school. So it's actually different in Korean, foreign and international, different word for that. Yes, we have 13 different languages books in here, mainly English. We have about, in the main library for ES, we have about probably 18,000 books in English. Korean, we have over 1,000. Then it's Chinese, and then it's Japanese and Chinese. We have a whole section, international section. I have a whole, it's probably 4 or 5 meters long of all the international books. And a lot of times I buy books, the same book in different languages. So Diary of the Wimpy Kid, we have in Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and English. I think we even have one in Spanish. But a lot of the books I'll try to buy in more than one language because a lot of times they'll want to read it in their mother tongue plus English. I'd say around 60, 70% of children here are EAL students or have a low level of English when they first come. So they're always working on their English. So we have to make sure we have a lot of those books too, as well. We have another library called the Leveled Library, which is in the back, which is leveled by the reading level. We use the F&P, so fountain and pen, and A to Z. There's probably, I think there's 28,000 books in there. So the teacher will come and pick out a section of books and they can go take them to their classroom and bring them back. So level A, B, C, D. And we do it fiction and nonfiction as well. So they can pick up the books they can take to the classroom. So that also helps the books. But we have a lot of other language books or cross-language books. We have a section of books that are written in English and Korean. So it's in the same book as well. Not so many other ones. It's harder for us to get. I usually have the Japanese moms tell me where to buy new books that are good for them in Japanese. Same with Chinese too, because it's hard for me to get those. And also I don't speak Japanese and Chinese, so it's hard for me to get those books. So I rely on parents or people who work here who speak the languages to kind of help me out find the current trends of books in those languages as well. And so we have a budget. We have a foreign or non-English book budget. This year, I think it's 1,500 to update the foreign books. So it'll mostly be Korean, Chinese, and Japanese would be the biggest ones we have. We have some Hindi, but even Hindi from India, there's some languages. So finding students, it can be really hard. So a lot of parents will donate books for me when they go back to their home country because it's impossible for me to get them, or they're so expensive, it's not worth for me getting them here. So they'll buy them and bring them back to me as well. But yeah, I'm always open to having more and more non-English books because it's important that children feel comfortable reading books in their own language first. So always first language first and the second language acquisition, making that bridge, that gap.
All right, sir. All the questions are clear, and we're saying thank you for for answering to all of our questions and for spend a bit of your time.
Yep.
That's really helpful and increases our knowledge here. And do you have anything to say or anything to ask as a feedback to us for this meeting, sir?
I'd say when you guys become librarians, you want to make sure you make the library your own style. It's really important that as a librarian, you put your own unique style to it. A lot of times the first 6 months you get in, you get to learn the library, know how it works, how they have the books set up. And that's great. But then for a while, you have to say, you know what, this is something I want to change that I feel is better for the students. Because sometimes you have librarians who are very set in their ways and never changes for 20, 30 years when there's a better way or an updated version. And that's really important. For example, when I came into this library, because I said, this is my first year here, when I walked in, there's two types of libraries. The ones you walk in and go, wow, this is amazing. And there's like, oh, yeah, it's a library. When I walked in this one, mine was, oh, yeah, it's a library. So I said, I want this library to be renovated. I want it to be updated because it's not a wow factor to the kids. It's just like, oh, there's books. So this summer, I'm actually having this library renovated. I'm getting the carpets being torn out. I'm getting hard floors with colors. The walls will be painted many different colors. I got new shelving already because I used to have tall shelving, but the little kids can't get to it. So for equity, right, I got shelving that was only about 1.5 meters tall. So all the kids can reach the books, not just the tall kids. So make sure all the kids can read. So equity and equality is really important as well with the books. So if I'll unplug, I'll show you real quick, give a short tour of my library, but you can see where I've already started to tear down and prepare for the summer. So if you want, in the fall, when it's all finished, I can send you an email with the updated pictures of what it looks like. So you can see the transformation from the old library to the new library. So I already took down most of the stuff, So you can't see those signs I had up, but I'll show you what we're doing real quick. Let me turn this around here. So these are the old bookshelves I got rid of because they're too tall. This is the old carpet that's going to be changed to a hard colored carpet. I already took off everything off the walls. There's no signs. I took all the signs off and everything. So all the shelving is now the same level. So all the kids can always get the books. This is our international section. So we have, make sure you guys can see here. Oh, hold on. Yeah. So we have, goes by alphabet. So there's Chinese, Japanese. Then we have the Spanish, the Hindi, the French. We also have Ukrainian, Hebrew, Polish, Arabic. And here's all the Korean, mostly Korean here, all the way to the end, like that. So this will all be transformed and changed over the summer, complete renovation of the ES library. So I made a petition to the administration board, and I said, hey, I think it's really important that the library is updated by color, by what we have. So they're spending a lot of money in updating it. So it'll be a place where kids want to be. Also, the furniture too will be updated as well. So a big investment, but a library should be up to date in technology and furniture and reading and accessibility to the kids as well. So I'll do that in August when it's done. I'll send you, Viga, another email with the new pictures. I'll send you the old ones and the new ones so you guys can see the transformation. And that's only because I asked for it. I begged them to it for several months. Wrote a proposal, explained why it's good, why it's important for them mentally, physically, learning, long-term. And so it was approved and it'll be done in about a month. Mm-hmm.
All right, so thank you for taking your time to help us. We sincerely hope that we can meet again one day. If you need any help, you can contact us. But actually, I want to inform you something that after this interview and we will send you implementation agreement. Implementation agreement from the email that Viga will send you later.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, sir, before we end up our meeting, can we check documentation? Viga will take it.
We'll check the accommodation.
Yeah, like a screenshot of our meeting.
Just take a
Take a
picture.
picture.
Oh, take a picture? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Take a picture.
Right. 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1,
Okay.
2, 3. Sir, do you mind if we do this?
I'll do this. What does this
Yes.
mean? What does it mean?
This means literacy.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's no problem.
Right. Right. 1, 2, 3. All right, then. Thank you, sir. Anyway, thank you for your feedback before, and we're sure we'll remember what you're saying.
Mhm.
And maybe it would help us in our future.
Yeah, I hope so. It does, and I apologize for twice the meeting didn't happen, so I apologize for that. So I made sure it was okay today. So I know that's disappointing being as a university student and wanting to get things done, and you couldn't get it done for one reason. So I apologize for that, and hopefully this will help you guys do well in your class. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. It's not a problem at all.
Thank you, sir. And if you need any help, please just don't hesitate to contact us or contact me on
Okay.
email.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thank you for taking your time, sir.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day, sir. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.